Greetings fellow guitar travellers, it's Rowan J Parker here and welcome to part 2 of our Fusion Essentials lesson looking at improvising over minor 2-5-1s. In the first episode we looked at the first two approaches using pentatonic blues and harmonic minor material. In this episode we're going to be delving into treating each of the chords separately and really playing the changes. So let's get straight down to it, part 2. Off we go. Now our final approach is quite a bit more complicated because it involves treating each chord separately. So our first two approaches have been quite easy because we really haven't taken into account the actual chords we've been playing in. We've just been treating it like it's a global chord progression in A minor. This approach involves isolating each chord as a separate entity and applying a different scale on top of each separate chord. So let's look at our scale choices then. Over B minor 7 flat 5. The scales that we can play are B Locrian. Locrian is the mode that usually fits over minor 7 flat 5 chords. B Locrian being the 7th mode of the scale of C major. But there's also another choice which I will play from time to time over minor 7 flat 5 chords, and that is a scale called Locrian Natural 2, which is the 6th mode of melodic minor. So in this case it would be derived from a D melodic minor scale, and I could play that as well. So that's our two choices for B minor 7 flat 5, either B Locrian or B Locrian Natural 2. Alright, so for the first chord, for the 5 chord, the dominant chord, if we play it like E7 raised 9, which is the intention, we're going to treat this like an altered dominant chord. And you can improvise on top of altered dominant chords with another mode of melodic minor, and this would be mode 7 of melodic minor, which is called Super Locrian. So the relationship is the melodic minor scale that you're after is a semitone above the root of the dominant chord. So the scale that you want is F melodic minor, which is also known as, or a mode of, E Super Locrian, and that creates a very tense and dark sound over the chord because it contains all the extensions and alterations on the dominant chord. It contains the sharp 5, the flat 5, the sharp 9 and the flat 9, so it's about as altered as you can get. So sometimes this mode, Super Locrian, is also called the altered scale because it contains all the alterations on a dominant chord. It's also sometimes called a diminished whole tone scale because it starts off like a diminished scale and ends up like a whole tone scale. I usually call it Super Locrian. So that is the scale we're going to be playing on top of our E7 sharp 9. And then finally, on top of our A minor or A minor 7, I will play either a Dorian, or if I want some real spice in there, I will play a melodic minor to imply or create the sound of A minor major 7. Alright, now obviously this approach requires a lot more awareness of what chord you're on and also pretty much comprehensive scale control, because if you think for 1 second about what chord you're on or what scale you should be playing or anything like that, it's not going to flow very well. So it is by far the most complicated approach, requires the most level of harmonic knowledge, fretboard control, but can also produce some of the most interesting sounds. So let's do this last playing demonstration where we target each chord individually and really play the changes. Right, let's do it. A much more complex approach, but I think you can appreciate all the colour inside each individual chord and makes for an exciting, if quite challenging, way of playing the changes. Alright, that wraps it up. Just got the sign off to do now. Well, that concludes another episode of Fusion Essentials covering the minor 2-5-1. Tune in next week for, you guessed it, Major 251 and the things we can play over that. Before I sign off, just encourage you to have a look at my website, www.rowanjparker.com. Tons of free resources on that site. There's also a store where you can buy things. You can also book Skype lessons through the website. And if you subscribe to my website, by sticking your email address in the subscribe box, you get access to lots of free resources. Alright, what else can I tell you now? I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I have a Facebook page, Rowan J Parker. You can like if you like, you can follow me on Twitter. You can get all my backing tracks on SoundCloud, and most of them are downloadable for absolutely zip for free. SoundCloud page is Rowan-Parker, and don't forget to check out the burgeoning videos on the YouTube channel. There's almost 200 of them now, so I've been a busy boy. I'll check you out next week for another episode of Fusion Essentials. Till then, farewell. Rowan J signing off.